Richard, it is that amazing time of year again where we torture ourselves with the thought that you and I, yes, Richard, you and I can win a trophy. They say that our generation was the generation where everyone got a trophy, but you know what? That has not been the case for you and me. As we once again throw our hats in the ring for the 2020 Podcast Awards.
That's right, Shawn. For year number 5, the 5th year in a row, we're putting ourselves up as one of the contenders to make the slate for the 2020 Podcast Awards. So listen, here's what you do. You go to podcastawards.com, you sign up, and then you vote for the language of bromance. Now, this goes on from July 1st through July 31st. And that both dates are in 2020.
Ooh, yeah. And even though I've stepped away from Strange Indeed, make sure you go over and give Rima a vote as well.
Yeah, because then we could make the year even stranger. Indeed. Come on. And then you make the language of bromance and Strange Indeed as 2 amazing podcasts that are on the slate in this year's Podcast Awards.
So go to podcastawards.com in the month of July and vote every day.
Every day, every morning, you can go to Podcast Awards and vote for your favorite podcast. That's us.
Language of Bromance and Strange Indeed are the ones you should go to vote for every day.
That's all I got. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we're speaking the language of bromance. Today's a happy day for me. Today's a good day for me. I'm super pumped.
Why is it a good day? What's a good day? What's so good about it?
Because you, as per, unlike the usual, you gave me something that I actually want to talk about.
Well, I was going to say it's a good day for me because I learned that you've made a planet after us, or named a planet in our honor.
I did. It's in No Man's Sky.
Planet of Bromance.
It is. It's right there. It's a cute plant too. It's got big green grass and it's got really shiny water. I think the water's pink, and it's got like an blue kind of orangish sky. Big leafy trees.
What I like about that is like you drink the water and it tastes like pink lemonade.
I bet it does.
Yeah, it's like just kind of a bit of sweet. No calories though.
No, the animals are super friendly. They're not like mean.
Oh, good fruits, like good veggies and stuff, like a good vegan diet.
Well,
we got to
kill
some of the nice animals. Do we have to kill some of the animals to eat there?
If you want. I mean, you don't have to. You barbarian.
Well, I just don't know. Sometimes you want a nice fajita.
I don't think you make fajitas. I mean, you can in your mind.
No. Well, I guess this is futuristic.
You could make fajitas and then play the game while eating fajitas.
Oh, do you not make food in the game?
Not really.
Or is it like the futuristic Star Trek kind of thing where it's like you eat a tablet, it's all your nutrients you need?
Probably. The whole time you're in a spacesuit, so
that would be hard to eat. Clunk. Ah, damn it! I killed that animal for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, really, your main concern is oxygen and not dying because of environmental concerns,
like earthquakes.
No, like heat,
avalanches,
like hot and cold and
tsunamis.
There's storms, big rainstorm, big snowstorm.
Well, I like this as a segue, Richard, because I learned about a new planet, and we love to build like scenarios and stories. So I thought it'd be. I
built a planet just for you, so you would come visit. He's not going to come visit, guys.
$25 to get this game. But we do movie pitches, so I thought it'd be fun to do a video game movie pitch, and this is our 6th movie pitch that we've done. So I will go ahead. And so if you don't know what our movie pitches are, we basically pick a topic. In this instance, video game. So you figure out a video game that you want to make a movie of. You pitch that movie, and then we send these to Hollywood. And then right away we get, hey, don't you know you have a cease and desist, 1, and 2, there's a restraining order. Quit talking to us.
Yep.
But one of these days, go to jail, finger crossed.
And everybody laughs.
Yeah, they're like, what do you win for? We're like, murder.
Yep. It's the mouse's
what do you win
fault.
for? But Richard, why don't I toss it to you first to give us your first video game movie pitch?
Okay. So, video game movie. This one I'm basing more off of the most recent one rather than some of the older ones. I mean, the older ones were fun, but this last one is what really like makes you go, this could 100% be a movie. Okay. So it's a story about a man and his boy. God of War, Shawn. It's at the top of everybody's list. I feel like I should get it out of the way, but you definitely need a God of War movie.
So do you play that pretty close to the story? Because I mean, that's the thing with video game movies, right? Like
it's already narrative.
Like what video game movie tied pretty close to the actual game? Like Mortal Kombat, the first one, kind of like the same concept and same idea, just dramatized. Like you think Resident Evil, that takes kind of the whole mythology of the Umbrella Company and everything, but it's not the same story.
No.
Mario Brothers, completely not even close to being what the video game was about.
No. Double Dragon. Do you remember Double Dragon?
Yeah, Street Fighter. I guess they did Street Fighter, didn't they?
Oh, God. That was rough.
I was like, when they're like, we're going to make a movie about a comic book. Okay, well, this is what, we don't care what it does in the comic.
Oh, Jesus.
Why does he have nipples? So, but yeah, do you follow the game? So, like, what's this? I mean, you know, a son and a father kind of storyline, like that's going to sell tickets. That's going to be interesting.
Like I said, you based off the most recent one, and I don't know how much you've seen of the last God of War that got made, but it was amazing. Amazing.
Is the son lost, or does he walk him through the whole story?
No, you're with him. You're with him the whole time.
With him the whole time?
Yeah.
So you're kind of training him to take over the mantle kind of thing, or is it
no, he's complete. So in this, okay, so to I don't know, like to TLDR God of War. So you are Kratos, you were the God of War in Greece, but now you're living up like in Norway. And you've completely like, you know, like I'm, you know, all that's behind you because you wanted to start a family. And your wife had just recently died, and she wants, as like a last wish, she wanted her ashes to be scattered over from the highest mountain in the land. And so
Mount Everest.
No, not Mount Everest. So you and your son are trying to find the mythical realm of Jotunheim.
Okay. Is this based on actual mythology?
It's based on Norse mythology because the problem is that a stranger shows up to your house and the two of you get in a huge fight. And that other man is Balder from Norse mythology. And so through the course of the game,
his father-in-law? Are you going to make a comedy out of this? Like a buddy cop comedy?
So Balder is Thor's brother, like half brother, I think.
Oh, okay. But not in the Marvel movies?
Correct.
Is he in Marvel at all? Like
Balder?
Yeah.
I'm sure he was at some point.
Gotcha.
Like fucking the Thor comics have been around since the 50s. So the way the God of War games work is like there's like a thing that's going on, and as you're weaving through the story, then you meet the other gods. In the other games, it was all Greek gods. So it was, you know, like Zeus and Poseidon and Hera and all the other ones, Hades, you know. In this one, it's all Norse gods. So you meet Freya and Balder, and you don't see Thor at all, but there's a whole story. Then it turns out that Odin and Thor are kind of dickheads.
I mean, the
gods in general were kind of dickheads.
Yeah. I mean, Zeus was known to turn into like a swan and try to have sex with women.
Right. But the voice of Kratos in the game is the same guy that I can't think. Christopher Judge. Christopher Judge is the voice in the game. And that was Teal'c in Stargate.
Okay.
Great voice for that game. But you could do that whole thing as a movie and no one would even blink. I mean, that game is a movie. It's so good.
It's not very open world, is it? Right? Like it's more of a train ride. Like you kind of follow.
I wouldn't say it's on rails. I mean, you can explore. I mean, there's a lot to do. It's kind of I don't know. I don't want to compare it to a game like, say, like Dark Souls or anything, but it's very. I wouldn't say it's on rails. You know, that you're just kind of like plowing through.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some exploration to it. It's not as open world as, say, like an Assassin's Creed game or something like that.
Yeah. So is the main bit in your story like you're going to confront Odin and Thor? Like, did they, like, in your story, are they the ones that killed his wife?
No. I don't know how your wife gets killed. I don't remember. But the main premise of the story is you're trying to figure out a way to get Baldur to leave you the fuck alone.
Does he just keep bringing you problems?
Well, see, the thing with Baldur is he can't feel pain.
Oh, emotional pain, or just physical? Like, can you hurt his feelings?
No, you can't hurt his feelings.
No,
I mean, you can. I'm sure somebody can, just not you.
Well, I mean, it's like my dog. Like, you can't hurt my dog, like, physically, but, like, if you, like, hey, yell at him, he cowers in the corner and cries.
Yeah. Then you feel bad. That's your and I relationship over Skype.
That is actually, yeah.
I can't hurt you with punches.
But emotionally, you tear me down.
I just rip you apart. That's usually our pre-show ritual. Is I just,
you're like, I made a planet called Planet of Bromance just for you. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet.
And then I took a shit on it.
Now. It's gonna blow up right now. Watch my live feed.
3, 2.
Took me 100 hours just to get that, Shawn, and it's worth every penny.
Are you crying? Because I just climax.
I want to see that tear roll. Oh, when it hits the beard, that's what gets me.
Okay. So with God of War, I don't know if obviously I don't know if you'd play the game beat for beat. I would rather, you do something different, but that character's just too good. Yeah.
I wonder if you do more of could you play it more where you just the son gets lost and you follow him? So it's kind of like a lost cub story.
Yeah, maybe.
I think I'd dig something like that.
Do something like that.
Maybe he finds
at the risk of spoiling the end of the game, I would say that that's entirely possible.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have him find a god or some like demigod kind of thing, and they like buddy up, and it's almost like the Jungle Book, but with Norse gods.
Yeah,
I get behind that.
Well, I mean, you got like American Gods, like that was a show and a book.
Yeah.
It's kind of, so I mean, I guess you could look at it through that prism.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it'd be kind of, maybe you take it to, you modernize it and kind of play it as American Gods type
You
thing.
could throw in other gods.
Yeah. American Gods is kind of cool. Like, I like the idea of like gods getting created based off of humans, worshipping things, like now there's god of steel, god of entertainment.
Yeah.
It always kind of really interested me.
I agree.
All right, so for my first movie pitch, Richard,
okay, wait.
I don't know if you ever.
I feel like I know what this is gonna be because
it's gonna be a sports thing.
Oh, actually, no. Okay, then that's not what I thought it was gonna be.
It's the game I've been playing a ton of, and I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, I don't know if it was like on Saturday morning TV or if it was Nickelodeon, but there's this TV show where these kids could put on a jersey and they would become their favorite athlete and get to play in a game. So like they'd put on a shirt and it's like, oh my gosh, you're Barry Bonds in the playoffs, or you put on the shirt and now you're Michael Jordan playing basketball. So the game I've been playing recently is called MLB The Show. And I think you would basically make it just like, it would be like a mixture between that show and almost like Jumanji. So you play it, there's two different ways you could do it. One is, I'll go with the other one where it's more personal, but there's a way in the game, it's called Road to the Show, and it's more of the RPG side of it. So you create a character and you get to work their way through the minors and get into the majors, and you play, you basically play just them throughout the game.
Uh-huh.
So my idea is, it's like a Disney movie. So there's this kid, his dad dies or his mom dies or they both die. He's super sad. He gets shipped off to, Grandma and Pop-Pop's house, and they're like, we're freaking like swingers, so we can't hang out with you, so we're going to leave you at home by yourself all the time.
Oh, my.
It's Disney, so it's okay. And what he does is he finds like his dad's old video game. He starts playing it, and he starts playing this Road to the Show. And what happens is he's playing it, Richard, he gets sucked into the game, which basically projects him into the real world as this specific athlete.
Okay.
So he's getting to play along as this is, he's trying to get to the majors, and it's like this whole struggle between him and his dad. And what would be kind of neat with this too is at some point you find out like maybe there's a guy on the team that he doesn't know from real life, but he's like, trying to help him, train him, playing catch with him, doing like the training with him in the game. But like it's all looks like real life to him, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And then what you find out at the very end when he makes the majors is that guy that was helping him along all the time was his dad. His dad was like somehow in the game too and projected that to get him there.
All right.
Kind of like Angels in the Outfield feel.
That's what I was going to say. Like, didn't they make this movie and wasn't it called not Angels in the Outfield?
Well, there's Field of Dreams.
No, not Field of Dreams. What was the one with the kid? The kid with the
was it Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the Year, that was it.
Yeah. I tried to show that to my son because I thought he'd like it, but the kid, when his arm goes back, he goes, grrr, freaked him out. He's like, I want this turned off now. I don't want to hear that thing from that kid. But yeah, and so it's just it's a PG movie, and the kid. It's
I was
almost
gonna say,
like,
it sounds like a very feel good, like slugger kind of thing.
Well, I mean, like you think about, baseball is kind of one of those things that it's like it's very much like a father-son kind of thing. At least it used to be. I don't know if it's really still thought of like that now. But like you think of that Field of Dreams moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
It chokes me up because it's just kind of like I definitely relate to it. But
Aww.
as his dad's going back into the corn because his dad's dead.
Yeah,
he's like, "Hey, you want to have a catch?"
Aww.
And he gets to play catch with his dad, who's no longer there. And you do that here too. Like he's getting called up to the majors. He finds out his dad. He goes back to that minor league field and he asks his dad to have one more catch.
Oh, damn.
And his dad disappears after the catch. The other one.
And he's like, I'm going to go get cigarettes, son.
I'm going to go pick up a pack of cards. I'll be right back. The other thing I thought would be cool, and it's more of I think this would be kind of like your wacky Angels in the Outfield, but like the kid isn't projected in the game, but he just controls the players like in the game, but is controlling them in real life. So more Angels in the Outfield where like the players don't realize the Angels are helping them do things.
Okay.
So the kid fires up the game, he plays a game of baseball, and whatever he does actually happens in real life.
Oh, all right.
Because when I was in, like, he's trying to help, like, the worst team. Like, you figure out, like, okay, this is the team we're going to be. Like I'm trying to think who's a bad team right now.
The Vancouver Orioles.
Yes. The Baltimore Orioles are actually pretty bad. So, yeah, he takes over the Baltimore Orioles.
Okay.
And, like, this is a team that has a bunch of nobodies, and all of a sudden they start playing really well, and he gets them into first place. But, his mom's like, you got to stop playing these games. You're playing all the time. You can't play anymore. You got studies. And he's like, but Mom, I got to help the Orioles get into the playoffs. And you know what happens, Richard?
What happens?
He can't play.
Oh.
There's a power outage. But what happens, Richard, is the Orioles make it on their own. They win the game.
And they win the big game.
Yep. And everybody's super excited.
Do you think that like a major league team would be okay with somebody doing a movie like, and the person that's doing the movie is like, listen, okay, so the premise of this is that your team is terrible. Like, you guys are horrible.
That was a big thing in the 90s because, like, you think Rookie of the Year, the Cubs, like, sucked in that game. And they weren't terrible in the 90s.
Well, wait a minute. I thought he was in Rookie of the Year, wasn't it Minnesota?
No, that's Little Big League.
Okay.
Yeah. So Rookie of the Year is where the kid falls, busts his arm, and can throw like super fast. Little Big League is the kid whose grandpa owns the twins.
Right.
His grandpa dies and he gives him the twins and then he makes himself manager.
Okay.
But even in both those, the teams weren't good. It's kind of the whole idea is like the team sucks, but then with, some kid coming along, like motivates them with, antics to get them into, first place.
Right.
Because Angels in the Outfield was the same way. It was, the Angels sucked and then the kid would pray for the Angels to come and help him.
Yeah.
Oh, you had Christopher Lloyd in that too.
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd was in that.
You can call me Al. I saw that movie in theaters.
Did you?
Yeah. But it's two different ways to do it. It'd be MLB The Show, it'd be basis for it. I like both ideas, like making it more about like there's actual game there. Because you don't really see that too much anymore. Like that was a big thing in the 90s, like I said earlier. But
are you gonna have a scene where you go in the locker room and they're all like cramming HGH in their arms?
Probably. I mean, you should. No, yeah, you have to have that weird scene where it's like some adult like being kind of inappropriate around a kid. Because I don't know if you've watched like Rookie of the Year or Little Big League, but they're kind of weird.
I think the only one I remember seeing was Angels in the Outfield. And the only thing, honestly, that I remember the premise, and I remember that Christopher Lloyd was in it.
Danny Glover was the manager.
Yeah. Wasn't Joseph Gordon-Levitt the kid?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny, like you look at those old movies, like with the kids, like somehow like being in positions they shouldn't be.
Right.
I never thought about this, but Blank Check, there was a big uproar about that because it's on Disney Plus right now.
Uh-huh.
And that's the whole movie where the kid gets a blank check, gets like $1 million and starts going like haywire with it.
Okay.
And he has a crush on this I don't know what she does for a living, but she's some lady that's like in her mid-20s.
Oh.
And there's like, and his kid's like 13 or 14 at most.
Yeah.
And there's this really weird scene where like it's kind of semi-romantic and she kisses him on the lips.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wasn't there another fucking, oh shit. There was another movie that was like that. Wasn't it called like Milk Money? Where these kids like get together a bunch of money and like hire a prostitute?
Well, that was probably rated R. The Blank Check was PG.
Oh. Did we watch the same movie?
I don't know. I mean, when I was that age, I was like, oh yeah, that'd be awesome. But then when you're older, it's like,
well, she was like an escort kind of thing. It was very Pretty Woman, if I remember the movie.
But with like preteens or teens.
Yeah, basically.
Like, show us your boobies.
It came out in 1994, Sean.
Milk Money?
Yes.
It's no longer available in America.
Travel from their suburb to the city, bringing money with the hopes of seeing a woman naked. They find a hooker who is willing to show her breasts. However, when they decide to head home, they find their bikes have been stolen, leaving them broke and stuck in the city. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
They all die. It's funny. Like, you try to make that movie today, I don't think you could get it greenlit. Like, Hollywood kind of has a lot of problems.
Melanie Griffith and Ed Harris were in that movie.
You think about the times, Richard, like, in the 90s, if you wanted to see a woman naked, you had to go all the way to the city and pay money.
Yeah.
Today, it's on the internet for free.
Either that or National Geographic. That's all you had.
That's once a year. Mom always hid that one, too. Or Dad. Somebody did.
I couldn't find it, and I looked.
But yeah, that'd be my pitch, Richard. It'd be a sports movie. It'd be specific with gaming, and like two different kind of ways you could do it.
Okay. All right. My next pick is something very expensive. Like, this would take a lot of money to do, but I think that it would be all the rage. I think it would look amazing. Some people have tried, but no one's really nailed it. Well, a lot of people have tried to do it, and honestly, the last good example I can think of it was years ago. Sean, this game is called Deus Ex.
Okay. I don't know anything about it.
Okay. So what this game is it's set in a dystopian kind of future. Not don't think Mad Max. Basically, it's like it's basically like an updated version of Blade Runner.
Okay.
So with Deus Ex, in the game, well, there's been a series of games, but you play as Adam Jensen, who is he's a cop, and usually throughout the premise of the game, it's, he's either working, I think he was a cop, and then the last 2 games that came out, which was Mankind Divided, and I can't remember the one before that. I could probably look it up real quick. But in the game, there was Human Revolution and there was Human Revolution and Mankind Divided. Those were the last 2. So in Human Revolution, you're working as a security chief for like a big company called
So is this kind of like being a cop in Cyberpunk? Is that kind of the idea?
Yes, kind of. Yeah, kind of. But like I said, in Human Revolution, you were a cop, but now you're the head of security for a company called Seraph Industries that work on making cybernetic implants. And there was this big attack, and basically what happens is there's a big attack and you get hurt and you get implanted with a bunch of different cybernetics. So you have like a blade that comes out of your arm.
How would you play it?
So the basic premise, especially of the last 2 games, is kind of, it is the societal, conflict between people that have implants and people that don't have implants. But then also you have the conflict of, large corporations working their machinations to basically, it's very, cabal, like, we're a bunch, like our goal, our ultimate goal is world domination, and we'll work together to try to, do that. So corporations rule the world, society's fighting and eating each other over the debate of people with cybernetics and people that don't have them, and it just makes for an, in general, shitty situation. So for me, the movie would have to deal kind of with those kinds of things.
So would you kind of base it around like one big corporation that he's trying to bring down? And at the end, you find out that there's a bigger corporation?
No, it's not really a bigger corporation. It's a group of people that are working together.
Oh, like a New World Order kind of thing?
Yeah.
So does he know that? I guess he's fighting against that. Is that the whole idea?
Yes, he's fighting against it.
So is that where he knows that it's a one group type thing, or do you play that as like that's how you get your sequel? He's going
that is how you get your sequel. At the end, then you show somebody. You show like a room where they're all sitting together at like a big table.
Yeah, he takes out somebody, and then you hear a ping, and it's like. Then the projector shows up, and like he just killed like the leader of one, and you see like a Jedi room of everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So why is he going after this one corporation?
Let's see. I'm sure it would probably have something to do with maybe somebody is supplying black market implants to less than savory individuals.
Ooh, yeah, and maybe that one of the people that got it like killed somebody close to Adam Jensen.
Yeah,
and that's what brought him into it.
Yeah,
it'd almost be like Max Payne. It sounds like if you did it that way,
kind of.
Because the Max Payne was the whole idea is that like this person, this junkie on some drug that was just like out, killed his whole family, and then his whole thing was trying to stop that drug, and it led into this whole bigger like
Yeah, I mean, I think they came out about the same time, so it wouldn't surprise me that they're similar.
Yeah, Max Payne was like 03, 02.
Oh yeah, Deus Ex is I think a little older, or the very very first one is a little bit older.
Oh shit, the first one came out in 01.
Max Payne or
yeah, Max Payne.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the first Deus Ex came out on the PlayStation 2, so a little bit older. Cool. So you have, I think the reason that I would want to see this is because I want to see this game. I want to see this movie look amazing. I feel like so many people have tried and kind of like skirted near what this type of movie needs to look like in order to be good. But I don't feel like anybody's like hit the mark.
This feels almost like
the closest I can think of would be like Blade Runner.
Well, I was thinking like it sounds kind of like Altered Carbon too.
Well, I was gonna say yeah. I mean, it look wise, it would look kind of like Altered Carbon, but it just, I feel like Altered Carbon like held back a little bit.
Have you seen the second season yet?
I haven't.
Okay, I haven't either.
Yeah, it looked like, I'm like, with the concepts and with the stuff that they're talking about, I'm like, they could do so much more and show so much more. But like, obviously they don't have like a movie budget.
I think they were spending like $1 million an episode on that though.
Were they?
It was pretty pricey.
I mean, I mean, if you look at like the last Blade Runner movie, looked really, really great.
I wonder if you just do something almost in like a more anime video game style, how that would look.
I'm
like slightly.
I mean,
real,
but
CGI basically, I guess.
I am craving a cyberpunk-esque type of movie. I feel like that's one genre in the sci-fi kind of universe that I feel like is lacking majorly.
That's one where you start that and then you get like a vampire run with it where like everybody's doing that, which I'm surprised with Altered Carbon, and there's another one that was kind of similar that hasn't pushed that.
Yeah, I feel like we'll see, and I think it's because I feel like no one's really cracked the code on how to do it. But I think that the second somebody figures it out, it's gonna go like crazy. I feel like the second somebody figures out how to do it and do it well, that's going to be the next like trend of movies you'll see for a while. Like we had Lord of the Rings, and then that kind of like, precipitated similar films like, what was that? I mean, like the ones that weren't even, that fantastic, like Aragon and, yes, I feel like that is a genre that once you get somebody to crack it, then you're going to see a bunch. Lord of the Rings, beget Aragon and other ones that I honestly can't even think of. And, like Star Wars Star Wars came out in 1977. And then what'd you have after that? You had Star Trek finally did a motion picture. You had Alien. You had, like Flash Gordon, and that somebody figures out how to do something in that field, then you're going to have a bunch. And the closest I've seen come to it is probably the original Blade Runner.
I'd be down for that. Now, do you think if once you get Cyberpunk 2077, you'll kind of get that itch scratched, or do you think that's just going to make you want it more?
It's going to scratch the itch in terms of like a fun game to play and, something set in that genre. But I mean, if you're asking, like, do I still want a movie? Yeah. I've been harping for years about how I want to see a Shadowrun television show.
Would be cool. Oh, a television show would be the way to do it.
Yeah.
I was just telling some people about that today.
It'd just be like, it'd be a heist episode every show.
I mean, you could build it like a Game of Thrones kind of thing, just set in a futuristic world.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's essentially what it is. It's just different factions fighting for control over stuff. Oh. And there's dragons. That own corporations.
Oh,
man, you do Shadowrun like year zero.
What would let's say year zero would be right at the beginning of the Awakening. So that's when all of a sudden people start seeing elves. And actually the Awakening started when a dragon was seen on top of Mount Fuji. That's what apparently kicked off the whole thing.
Yeah, I think you figure out what characters you want to be your main thing, almost like Game of Thrones, and you're showing their perspective of the Awakening. So like the first episode or two would be more silhouettes of like, or vignettes of, here's person one. And
most of them would be human at this point.
Yeah, they'd all be human, and
because it starts out with like, shit, there's a dragon, and shit, people are being born and they look like elves and dwarves. That's fucked up. But then at one point, this thing happens called goblinization, where all of a sudden, like, people like go to sleep and then they wake up and they're a troll.
Yeah, like that's where you'd want, like, you see the day of them kind of like just whatever, but then you see some of them waking up in that, like. Maybe one guy falls asleep and he wakes up and he's got an orc wife. He's like, what the fuck?
Remember Bright? I was so excited for Bright, but it just didn't get there. It was close, but it just didn't get there. If you give me Bright and shove it like, 100 years in the future.
Yeah, Bright, I've only got like 2/3 of the way through, and I was kind of like, I'll get back to it.
Yeah. And then it never happened.
Yeah, same boat. Well, my next game movie, Richard, which is the one I'm assuming you thought I was going to pick, so I won't bury the lead, but I want a Grand Theft Auto themed movie.
That is not what I was thinking.
Oh, I wonder how many of these are going to be on there then, because I figured that'd be the one. Because what I want, you've seen Burn After Reading, right?
Yes.
With Brad Pitt. Like how that movie, like when it kicks off, there's like so much random stuff happening throughout that whole movie. That by the end, you don't feel like you really got any closure because everything's just kind of like I think the guy says it the best. He's like, well, what did we learn today? And the guy's like, I don't know. He's like, me neither. Let's not do it again. That's the end of the movie. And that's what I'd want here. Like the guy who played one of the characters in the actual movie, his name's Trevor in the game.
Okay.
He looks like the character. And I think you could just have him be in the movie. Maybe that's the person you follow. And it'd be cool to bounce around the other three too, but you just keep it this chaotic, like one thing after another, just like the game. It's like, hey, you're going down the street. All of a sudden you've got this like mini mission type thing that has nothing to do with the plot of the whole movie, but it's just this random fucking thing that happens.
Yeah.
Somebody jumps out in front of your car and you hit them, and now you're in a chase by cops trying to figure out how to get away. It wouldn't quite be the equivalent of The Good Guy. Like, I don't want it to feel too video gamey. I kind of want it to feel more real world. But I think if you just keep this like very chaotic, very like stuff happening with like kind of just like a game, like there's kind of one main storyline you're trying to get to, but you don't really know how you're getting there. But in the end of the movie, you're there at the big bad and fighting and winning and going on with your life. But you get car chases, you get violence, like over the top violence. I think if they made a Grand Theft Auto movie, how hard do you think people would stand in front of it with signs? Like as much flack as that game has gotten over the course of its lifetime. Yeah, but it's kind of quieted down because everybody. Well, actually, there's been kind of more stuff in the news. Because I guess like. Some people are streaming going around and beating up like hookers and stuff like that. Basically, like they're I don't remember. It was bad. It was basically kind of like
it was bad. Point is, it was bad.
And people are like, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever. And I'm sure if you got stuff like that, like if they showed a scene where somebody in the movie picked up a hooker and you see the car rocking and then they kill the hooker, like people do in the game, I'm sure that people would be like, maybe this isn't the best thing to show on TV.
Yeah.
But it'd be, I just like the more, I'd probably go with the more violence.
Would you follow the narrative that have happened in games, or are we taking like a completely new person and setting him in a completely new story and just calling it or are we basically doing like a crime movie and calling it Grand Theft Auto? Or how are you pulling from the GTA world? Aside from maybe like names, like town names.
You could use Trevor as that character and kind of build off that. But I think for the most part, it would just be you're slapping this on kind of like this really crazy crime movie.
Okay.
I don't think you'd want to follow. Like, you might sprinkle in a couple like side missions that, like, oh, I remember playing that side mission. But for the most part, your overarching theme is going to be, you know, it's a guy who owes somebody money and has to get the money.
Okay.
And so they're doing all these side missions, and they got to do this, you know, the specific job at the end to get enough money for the guy, like a bank job kind of thing. Because that's been the big thing, I think, in the last Grand Theft Auto, was a big like bank heist.
Okay.
So maybe that's the big goal. But, you know, to get there, to get the right people, to get the stuff, it's just this big whirlwind of one thing after another, and it's just this big snowball effect of nothing going right, and, you know, getting into these firefights, and then, you know, coming home and like your girlfriend's like nagging on you, and you're like, do you even know what I've been through today? And I this is kind of the same boat I did. Like, you could do two different ways. I think it's more just the chaotic, using more of the you know, the universe stuff and not really a theme. But you could do, if you did a Grand Theft Auto themed, I would want to do Vice City. Like, you take them back into the 80s.
So of between Los Santos, Vice City, Liberty City, are those the only three I can think of?
Yeah, the new one takes place in San Andreas.
San Andreas, that's the other one I was thinking of.
But yeah, I think why I like Vice City is because nostalgia is a big thing, right? And that's that's being done. That takes place in the 80s. And it's got a really good storyline. It's very much kind of Scarface-y.
Okay. So
it's kind of a parody of Scarface almost. So I'd be down for something like that.
All right. So basically, so you want a Scarface-esque movie set with GTA names. See, I think it'd be cool if you pulled in like characters and stuff from the game.
I'd be down for that.
Like, and then you have, you know, like, and you don't even have to like give them names. You just put them in like the same outfit, so that way somebody standing in the theater is like, I know who that fucking is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, with a Grand Theft Auto movie, you could have so many Easter eggs, because in the game there's so many Easter eggs.
Just put everybody in Don Johnson clothes from Miami Vice.
But the Miami Vice one would be cool. But yeah, I'd want a Grand Theft Auto movie. That's what I would be pitching.
Okay. I like it. I go see that. Okay, Shawn. So this next one, it is a video game. It's been a series of PC games. There's actually a new one coming out fairly soon, I think within the next few months. But you want to talk about like a Game of Thrones-esque type movie. This is easily in my top 5 games of all time. I think the game is old enough that you could probably almost do a beat for beat plot, but it's not really. I mean, you could do a completely new story too, because that's the best thing about this. Shawn, the game is Baldur's Gate.
Ooh, yeah. All set on D&D. So
all set in D&D. All set in
awesome.
Forgotten Realms.
Do you think that could be done as a movie, or do you think that had to be done as a series? I know we say movie pitch, but I feel like that would be a series pitch.
I think that you could do a movie that could kick off into a series, because the premise with Baldur's Gate, just the first game, the premise of that first game is that you find out you're an orphan, and you find out that you are actually the child of a now dead god called named Baal, who's the Lord of Murder. And so you are, going along your merry way, and you find out that there is a group, a merchant group called the Iron Throne that is kind of working to subvert the legitimate authority in the town of Baldur's Gate. And it's being led by a man called Saravok, who is actually your half brother, because he is also a Baal spawn.
So a little Cain and Abel kind of thing.
Kinda, yeah. And so you work to kill Saravok. So And so that could be like your whole movie. And that's just, like I said, that's just the first game. The second game is you get captured by some wizard who wants to experiment on you and try and figure out a way to steal your godhood. And then.
Is that like a circumcision?
Kind of. Yeah. Yeah. And then beyond, and then there's a expansion called, Throne of Baal, where basically all the remaining children of Baal come together to like basically kind of like Highlander, where they duke it out and whoever last one left becomes the new Lord of Murder.
So this almost feels like a trilogy kind of thing. Like at the end of the first one, you kind of have the whole like I am your father, but it's like I'm your half brother and there's more of us. Ugh. Yeah, that's a good thing. Because that almost seems like the Witcher feel to me. So maybe you could do a short series.
Yeah.
But I feel like a trilogy on that sounds awesome.
I mean, I would say like, okay, like The Witcher. The Witcher really lends itself to a series because like those stories are all short stories. They're all short episodic kind of, like the books aren't like novels. It's like collection. It's like anthologies.
Yeah. And that's kind of what you're seeing in there. It's just these little like campfire stories about different, encounters that he's had.
Plus it's a way to kind of like shoehorn Drizzt into getting him on screen.
Is Drizzt in those games?
He is in those games.
Is he a big part of the game or just
no, actually in the first game, like you just randomly happen upon him. Like I think in the first game you're walking along and there's this big group of monsters and they're and then you see them like going to attack somebody and it's one lone dark elf with two swords and you're like, I know who that is.
Yeah, does he have his panther?
He does.
Yeah. Oh, I've only read like I think half the first book. It's good. That's one I've always wanted to go back to pick up. But at this point, there's just so many.
There's so many books. I've only read like 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, they're massive books.
Maybe 3 or 4. I honestly don't remember.
I think I've read the first one like twice. Like I started it and put it down, and I went back to it. It was kind of like the whole Lord of the Rings thing. Like I'm like, oh, how far was I in this book? And I was like 10 pages from the end.
Yeah, I mean they're easy. I mean they're easy enough reads, but there's a lot of books, and plus I think they've spun off books. Like I think the Barbarian that I can't remember his name. I don't know, but I think the Barbarian had like a book on his own, and yeah. But like I said, see, you use Baldur's Gate as a way to shoehorn, and then you get Drizzt, and once you get Drizzt on the screen, then everybody's like, why don't we do a movie about him?
That would be good.
That's how you get it. You just slide it in, and then people go, they should do a Drizzt movie, and then everybody goes, Drizzt, and then the studio's like, well, I guess we should do a Drizzt movie, and then we get 12 Drizzt movies.
Yeah, because that's a whole hero's journey. Because the whole thing is like the Drow, like what he's born into, they really don't keep boys around,
right? And
he somehow gets away and like makes his way out because like they were killing like the elves on the top. And he didn't
surface elves, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, no, this is bad. He
gets
a panther and 2 swords, and badassery ensues.
Mm-hmm. And they meet.
Did his panther like shrink down?
The panther is a figurine of wondrous power, yes. So it's a little statue that he could use. That he summons it. But then you have like all the other members. You have Brunor Battlehammer, the dwarf who is him and Drizzt and everybody. They go and reclaim. They kill the dragon Shadow Gloom to reclaim Mithril Hall, and then he's proclaimed king of Mithril Hall. You've got the Barbarian, who I can't believe I don't remember his name. I think it's Wolfgar. Fuck, fine, I don't remember.
You talk about like building a universe, and this Drizzt sounds like that's what it would do. And Baldur's Gate would be like your back door into getting that started.
That's how you backdoor him in.
God, could you imagine if like that's like you talk about Marvel movies, if they could do 12 Drizzt inspired like universe movies? Because like you said, you could probably spin off to do all the other characters too.
Exactly. Plus, you had cool villains. Artemis Entry was a badass fucking villain. He was the assassin. He was like a street kid, and he, street orphan, and he comes up and he turns into like this badass assassin.
Assassins in those like RPG books, like fantasy books, are always super cool.
Yeah.
There's a trilogy I have. I can't remember what it's called, but basically it was a guy who was in this assassin guild where they would basically like put a little bit of a demon in you.
Okay.
And he got away from that, but he kept all of his skill. And so the whole thing is him like trying to, do good to make up for all the stuff he did when he was like possessed by the demon.
Oh, I like it.
Very cool. He's an assassin with like throwing knives.
Nice.
All right, Richard. For my last pick, this was a game, one of the first games I got on a PS3. And if you remember, my PS3 was one of the reasons I almost didn't have my first marriage. But it's the game called Resistance: Fall of Man.
I remember that game.
I
vaguely remember the game. It was basically like, wasn't it like World War II but aliens?
Yeah, so it's like World War II is happening, and while World War II is going on, there's an alien invasion. So you're thinking like you're storming Normandy, and all of a sudden now you're fighting aliens instead of Nazis, which is just as bad.
Yeah.
Maybe worse. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of, because like you think like we just did a review of Independence Day, and it's very like high tech kind of like, weaponry and stuff fighting other high tech.
Right.
But if you follow your person, it's, an American soldier who's, in Germany trying to fight this war.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden now he has to shift from fighting people to fighting aliens. He starts out with just like the normal, like, M2 type of weaponry that they had then.
Yeah. Wow.
And, it's taken a lot to kill him, but as slowly progression, he gets a bigger gun, and he gets all the way in to infiltrate the hive and basically defeat some part of these aliens, because they made like 4 of these games.
Yeah, I don't think I remember playing the other ones.
The first one wasn't too bad. I did finish that up, and spoilers, but it's like 20 years old.
Right.
When you beat it, essentially I think you kind of get like infected with some kind of, and maybe you get infected early in the game, and that's why you regenerate health quickly, which would be kind of neat. Well, this is great. What was the World War II zombie movie that just came out?
Oh, Overlord.
Overlord. So this is kind of like Overlord except with aliens.
Yeah. Yeah.
That just now clicked in my head.
How long do you think it would take you to tell this story? Like, is this a 2-hour movie? Is this a 90-minute movie?
I think you could get away with 90 minutes if you had to. If you could get a full 2 hours, I think you can get a little bit more battles in, like bigger battles,
I feel like 2 hours was the only way, because you gotta, I feel like you have to have him like, run around with a Tommy gun shooting people for a bit before you give him like, the ultra alien blaster.
Oh, but that would be like, because like Overlord, when I watched that movie, like the first 35 to 40 minutes, like I kept having to remind myself that this was a horror movie, not a war movie.
Right.
Because the whole time it's essentially just a World War II war movie.
Yeah.
And, all of a sudden when they get like the zombie stuff, it kicks in really hard. But that's what I think you would do here. You have him either storming the beach, or maybe he's part of the group that parachuted behind everything. And he's, slowly fighting basically the war. And then all of a sudden you see this big ship crash land or something, and it just kicks in like 100 degrees into this alien invasion storyline. Yeah. I could get behind that. That'd be really cool.
I could do that.
And then he gets infected with something early, like his whole platoon gets killed except him, because he gets infected with some kind of like alien thing that helps him rejuvenate and be a little bit stronger. I like that. I like that idea a lot.
That's not bad.
But yeah, I only had a couple movie ideas on mine. Do you have any other ones to close this out on?
I did have some other ones, but I like for lack of diving in, I'll say names, and if you know them, cool. Otherwise, so some other ones I had were StarCraft, which was a real-time strategy game done by Blizzard, and you had there were humans, and then there was the Zerg, which was like an alien kind of insectoid race, and then the Protoss, which were kind of like the quintessential aliens that you would think of.
That's the one where you're building bases and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
okay, yeah.
So StarCraft is one. You could do a bunch of stories with that.
That feels like that'd be like the Battleship movie to me. Like you'd be kind of using the StarCraft name, but it'd be like, almost like
it has the game does have a narrative. The two games do have a narrative to them about like, there's a impending darkness and these three races actually need to unify and come together in order to, another one would be Diablo.
Ooh, Diablo would be good.
Because you could make that think like D&D, but like dark, make it all dark and broody.
You could give it like a hint of supernatural.
Yeah, you could. Another one would be Splinter Cell. If you remember Splinter Cell, that was the guy worked with the NSA, and he had like this is the guy that had like the goggles with the third one that he
That's Tom Clancy, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a Clancy one. We need another Splinter Cell game. I mean, that needs to happen, but also like a movie would be all right.
Yeah, the last game came out on PS3.
Yeah. We need another Splinter Cell game. Splinter Cell was kind of like great.
Because Splinter Cell is kind of like Hitman, right? Essentially, but it's more government based instead of.
Yeah. Where you're kind of sneaking. It's more like you sneak around and do stuff.
Yeah.
Let's see. Portal was one I had on here. I feel like that one would be hard to do, and I actually can't think of a way to do it. But considering the kind of dry, dark humor in the game, I would love to see what a Portal script would look like. And I think that was all I had. This one was actually kind of hard because because there were some games I was thinking of, like you take like Uncharted. Like Uncharted would be a fantastic movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, we saw the short with
right.
What's his face?
Nathan Fillion.
Fillion, yeah.
So Uncharted would be a fantastic movie. The problem is like, how do you do that movie without just rehashing the game?
Yeah. You have to be careful because I feel like there's a fine like middle ground. Like you can't rehash it.
Yeah, like
you can't completely go away from it.
Exactly. Like you can't just retell that story because that game, like the thing is like you do a movie and you're talking like 2, maybe 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And like that game gets, 30 to 40 hours to tell a story. Like they're gonna do it better. Yeah. They just are. They have more time. They're just going to tell a better story.
That's why I feel like older games, like the Mortal Kombat movie, to me is, if I had to say, Resident Evil 1 would be close, but it's almost the perfect video game movie because it takes a lot of the lore and a lot of the stuff from the movie, but expands on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you think about the games now, like you can't really expand on them too much because the game does all that for you.
Exactly. And then you take like things that are way too open, like Skyrim. Like,
yeah, how are you going to make a movie about
how the
that?
fuck are you going to make a Skyrim movie? Like, where do you go? Like, what do you?
That you have to do a series on that.
It's like it's just
everything you want.
Yeah, you're given so much that you don't really have a direction to go because you don't know what direction to go.
I think the first season of Witcher did a good job with that. Do you think that's more because there's books behind it compared to a game? Like if it was just a game, do you think it would have more trouble?
Well, I think the thing that you have with The Witcher, the difference between The Witcher and like Skyrim is characterization. Like with The Witcher, you have Geralt, you have, everybody, you in the Witcher games, you are Geralt. You're not, a random Witcher that you create yourself with your own hair and eyes and, eye color and body type.
Yeah, that's true. Because Witcher, everybody has the same experience, whereas in Oblivion, everybody has their own experience.
Exactly. With something like Skyrim or Oblivion, everybody's different. Everybody makes their character different. Everybody experiences that game differently, and everybody experiences that game through different eyes. With The Witcher, everybody's experiencing that game as Geralt. Geralt is reacting to everything that's going on around him, and Geralt has his own opinions and reactions to things. And so it's a lot more easy to adapt because you have a character that you identify with in the game.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, that's why, like, whenever they take things from books and stuff, like, it's the same kind of concept. Everybody has the same experience reading or viewing that. And so they can kind of put that to screen where, you know, like if you did an RPG base, like you did Shadowrun, whatever movie they made wouldn't be your Shadowrun.
Exactly. And like, okay, like earlier you were talking about Grand Theft Auto. That's one thing I was saying, like, you know, like pull characters from those games and stick them in there.
Yeah.
You know, to try, and it's basically like a way to ground the whole thing with an experience that you can relate to.
Yeah. And
like I said, like with Skyrim, everybody experiences that game differently.
Yeah. I think that changes how I would do a Grand Theft Auto, because I think I would focus on the Trevor character. Because, yeah, if everybody's going in expecting that, and you come out with, you know, Bob Jones, they're going to be like, who the fuck is Bob Jones?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I dig that. I think we came up with some pretty good video game movies, honestly.
Yeah.
Like those didn't be the show ones. Like you roll
kill to see Deus Ex on the screen. Oh, that would, if you do it right, that would look amazing.
Well, as we are wrapping this up and getting ready to send these to the producers in Hollywood, what are some Richard's closing thoughts?
Let's see. How do you wrap this up? Just no matter what medium, a good story is a good story, be it movies or games. Yeah, nailed it.
All right. Well, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. You visit our website, we're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at languageofbro. Email us at bros.
When you're on Twitter, you should send us ideas for games that you would want to see as a movie.
Yeah, shoot those our way. Like, what games did we forget? Because then we'll know what games to play and know what games we can make movies out of.
Nailed it.
See, a couple ways you can support the show. You can always spread the bromance by liking, retweeting, and sharing our show on Reddit. And you can also pick up some merch at the LOB merchandise store at the T Public Store.
Perfect.
And remember, if you want to join our Patreon, it's patreon.com/languageofbromance. We always like to thank our patron members, Wendy, Aaron, and Shane.
If I made a video game movie, I would put all of you in it.
All lead roles.
Yep. Dragon wouldn't eat you.
All right. Is there anything else before I close her out?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And remember, don't be a why.
Be a why not.
Why not?
Make Deus Ex. Make Deus Ex. Do it.